This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's a beautiful, snowy December day. It is December 15th, 2021, and it's just a lovely winter, looks like the holiday season outside. And with that in mind, we want to talk a little bit about what's going on here in the market. So what I'm going to do is share my screen, and we'll get going on our monthly market report. And for people who are tuning in late, we will be fully recording this and you guys can review it anytime. So I'm going to start right from the beginning here and talk about what we all know is, when do most listings come on the market? And we all know that traditionally within our market, of course, different parts of the country are different, but within our market, it's usually the second quarter of each year. We have new listings that come on when people see spring break happening and they want to get everything all geared up for the summer heavy traffic season. So they get things listed April, May, and June, hopefully sell them during the summertime with fewer in the fall and of course winter. That's traditional within our market. But we got to rethink that right now, because this is not a usual market. We are dealing with a pandemic, and we've had such a unique, crazy market ever since February of 2020 hit, in which we had that dive and then we had the boost, and we never had a downtime last winter. So we have to rethink the second quarter of each year and start thinking again that maybe the most listings coming on the market might happen this winter. It is a very unusual time that we're dealing with. So let's talk about what is traditional. So most sellers have historically moved, home sellers have historically moved when something in their lives have changed, such as a new baby, a marriage, a divorce, or a new job. But the pandemic has impacted everyone. And for many, this became an impetus to sell and make a housing trade. That is a quote from the Behavioral Insights at NAR, the Vice President of Demographics there, Jessica Lounce. So NAR continues to say that the pandemic likely spurred occupants to shorten their home stay, as tenure in the home decreased to 8 years from 10 years, according to the report. This is the largest single-year change in home tenure since NAR began collecting such data. So let's look at that actually in a chart. So we can see prior to the housing crisis of 2008, 2009, 10, 11, the average tenure when people would stay in their home was about 6 years. Every 6 years, people would move. When the housing crisis hit, people stopped moving. They moved from 7, 8, 9 years. And then as we moved into 2013, 2014, 2015, 16, 17, the average time for people staying in their home has moved from 6 to 9.2 years. And so that's created a whole different sort of thought process for people. People are staying in their homes longer. Why did they do that after the housing crisis? Well, maybe they were in recovery mode from the housing crisis, or found that home was just as good as having to move every 6 years as they were in the past. But it was also maybe they were just waiting. They weren't sure we were going to go through another housing crisis. They wanted to save up. They wanted to pay off their bills. There could be all kinds of reasons why people did this. But there's also something a thought process of maybe pent up seller demand. People we're at a point in time now where people are like, okay, we've been here a long time. Now it's time to move. And so in 2021, if you look at this, the average year for people staying has switched to 8 years. And so people are now at a point where they're selling their property. And that has created a situation which is ripe for maybe getting some listings. The pandemic has delayed plans for many Americans, and homeowners looking to move on to the next stage of life are no exception. Recent survey data suggests that the majority of prospective sellers are actively preparing to enter the market this winter. Again, this is from Realtor.com. So this winter. So here's based on a survey. The majority of sellers entering the market in the next year plan to list in the next 6 months. Now, of those who are planning on entering the market, 65% have just listed or plan to list this winter. 93% have already taken steps toward listing their home, including working with an agent. That's 28% of them. And 36% have researched the value of their home and others in the neighborhood, as well as starting making repairs or decluttering. People are ready to start moving. They're recognizing that they have a lot of built-up equity in their home. Maybe it's time to cash in. Maybe it's also, hey, I've delayed moving into that next home. The kids have moved out a few years ago. I don't need this much space. It's now time because I've got plenty of equity in my home and now I can consider making that move. So they are starting to think about, let's declutter, let's repair, let's get ready to sell. So listings rose for the second week in a row, with our recent survey data suggesting that a growing share of homeowners are potential sellers eager to find new homes. There's no reason to believe this may be the start of a welcome trend. I mean, there is reason to start, especially as we move into the colder months. So this is, again, coming from the chief economist at Realtor.com. People are thinking, and it's time, so we're not necessarily waiting for spring. Another thing that definitely is impacting people is what's going on with interest rates. So let's take a peek at that interest rate update. So we've been looking at this chart for some time. Mortgage rates. So the Freddie Mac 30-year fixed rate in January of 2020, before the pandemic, was at 3.7%. It dropped, went back up, and then it dropped way down into January of 2021, below 2.7. Gone up some, it's gone down. Right now, here in November, early December, it's roughly 3.1%. That is a phenomenal mortgage interest rates. We know that interest rates are historically low. And so even though housing prices have gone up a lot, the amount that people need to finance is more affordable than it was just a short time ago. So let's look at some historical perspectives on today's mortgage rates on the 30-year fixed rate. So here we are, this bright yellow line here is 2021. You can see that's from January, went up a little bit, right now here about 3.1%, which is higher than it was in December of 2020. Again, lower, closer to 2.5%. But look at all these other years, 2016, 17, 18, and 19. The interest rates hover between 3.5%, going up all the way just to below 5%. Again, in historical perspective, this is a phenomenal mortgage interest rate. My first home, we could not afford a traditional interest rate. We did one of those interest only, and you're accumulating principal payments, and you're going to end up with a balloon, you know, those things that most people never buy with any longer. When I bought first in here in Bend, I think our interest rate was around 8%, which was great. It was a great interest rate. It is, in perspective, historically great. Being down here around 3.1 is phenomenal. But what's going to happen in the next few years, the next couple of years? I think we're going to get back up to maybe between 3.5, 4.5, which is great interest rates, but it's not where we are right now. So the question here is also, are home prices impacted by rising mortgage rates? So in this chart here, each of these red lines shows when interest rates went up. Were home sales impacted during that point in time? The only time they were ever impacted by that was during the housing crash. That's when homes depreciated. Now, was there a correlation between rising interest rates and the market crashing? Maybe slightly, but we all know most of the housing crash that happened as a result of terrible loan processes, when people were given no-doc loans and didn't have to prove that they could afford their mortgage payments. Yes, mortgage interest rates went up slightly from 5.87 to 6.41%, but did that cause the crash? I don't know about that. There is, but on all these other indications, when mortgage rates went up, there was no corresponding impact as far as it goes with home prices. So house price appreciation is resistant to rising mortgage rates. primarily because most home sellers would rather withdraw from the market than sell at lower prices. And that's a phenomenon we refer to as downside sticky. Think about it, when houses are going down in value, home sellers just say, oh, I'm just going to stay put. I'm not going to sell. So that's why when things go down, people don't really sell. They like to sell when things are on an uptick. So home sales are not impacted by rising mortgage rates. So take a look back here, all the way back to 1989, which we had a mortgage rate drop, an increase here from 7.31 to 8.38% back here in the early 90s. And again, home sales were going up. They were definitely going up during this point in time. Here's again the housing crisis, and that's really the only time in which that did impact it. So there is supporting documentation here. So when people say, well, because mortgage rates are going up, that means home sales are going to drop. No, there is no real correlation outside of the housing crash. And so you have this information you can provide to people when they ask you that. This chart, of course, is from NAR and Freddie Mac. So context matters for purchase demand. The economy is improving and millennials continue to age into their prime home buying years in large numbers. So the context remains good for the housing market. We have millennials who are earning money, they have down payments, they are now the next big buyers. They have been buyers, but now they're becoming the largest buyers. So the context remains good for the housing market. I know that within our own brokerage, a lot of people are telling me, they're working with people who are transplants from the Bay Area. They're people from Silicon Valley, and they have lots of money. So, and people are moving and buying homes. So as we move into the holiday season, we are in it. A lot of us go to parties, we gather with family and friends, it might be something at church. And when people find out that you're a realtor, just in casual conversation, they always ask you, oh, tell me about the market. And not to say that, at a social gathering is the best time to get a listing, but they're gonna ask you these questions, and it's an opportune time to be able to say, and to show these people that you are an expert in real estate. And so I am going to forward you these next 5 slides so you can actually download them onto your phone if you wish. And so when people ask you these questions, you can say, well, here's a chart that shows about it. And people like to hear it, but they also like to see it. People are very visual, and when they see something, and you can actually even share the chart with them, it could be helpful for you in the future. Maybe after the holiday season, they'll give you a call and say, well, that conversation we had, tell me a little bit more about what you're seeing in our local market. So here's some slides that are helpful. First of all, what are mortgage rate projections to be? Here's the first one. So we all know, we've talked about this a bit, that all the major indicators from Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, the Mortgage Bankers Association, and the National Association of Realtors are all predicting that in first quarter of 2022, we're going to have an interest rate on an average about 3.3%. Second quarter, 3.43%, third quarter of 3.55%, and fourth quarter of 3.7%. So a slight increase, but nowhere near that 8% that we saw years ago, not even pushing 5% yet. So again, mortgage interest rates are projected to rise, but slightly. So you can share this chart with them. We'll see if this all holds true or not. Who knows, but it is, again, what these experts are saying. Second slide, I think, which would be helpful, is what are home prices forecasted to be in 2022. Now, these are national statistics. We're going to share local statistics in just a bit, but here's home price forecast for 2022. And again, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Mortgage Bankers Association, Zelman, NAR, all these different major indicators on an average are projecting across the country that home prices are going to go up 5.1% next year in 2022. Each market is unique, but this is national statistics. And these are good people who really, good institutions who really know the stuff. They study it all the time. So projection is next year, home prices are going to continue to rise. So again, our home sales projected to increase. Yes, they are. So we're talking about prices. Now we're talking about actual numbers of home sales. Home sales are forecast to increase this year and perform well again in 2022. So here's where we are in 2021. Of course, we still have a few more weeks in 2021, but we are seeing here that from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, NAR, and the MBA, large increases in home sales. This is a lot of home sales, 6.8 million sales across the country. And next year, look at how they're projecting for 2022. Freddie Mac and NAR are holding firm at 6.8%. Fannie Mae down a little bit, but the Mortgage Bankers Association up to 7.5 million. They're really being very bullish on what they think is going to happen next year. In comparison, this is what's happened in 2020. We had 6.5 million homes sold in 2020, and 2020 was an amazing year. It's when COVID hit, we had that dip, but we had that huge rise, and we sold across the country 6.5 million homes in 2020. And look at what's happened in 2021. More. And projection in 2022, more. We're going to be selling homes. Also look at months of inventory of homes for sale. When people ask you about these questions, this is, I think, a wonderful chart to pull out to recognize that a balanced market, a neutral market, anywhere between 5 and 7 months of supply. Looking here at 6 months, that's a balanced market. When you have, that basically says for every home that hits the market, it should sell within 6 months. During the recession, it was a super strong buyer's market. Think of what happened in 2010 when we had 13 months. At certain price points, we had well over 2 years of supply. Today, ever since coming out of the recession, we've been in a seller's market, and we are in such a strong seller's market. We have about a month's supply of inventory for bin single-family homes. It is such a strong seller's market that if you have any thoughts of listing a home, you can tell people that you meet, this is probably the best time that I have ever experienced, because there are so many buyers with home prices up, with the demand. A home that's priced at proper pricing for the market will sell. It is just an amazing time to be a seller, and you can cash in on all that inventory. This is another chart which I think is really, really good, because people will sometimes say, as a buyer, well, I don't want to buy at the top of the market. I'm going to wait for prices to come down. Well, when is the top of the market? The top of the market was last year, right? If you didn't buy last year, you missed the rise. And if you didn't buy last year, now is a great time to buy, because again, based upon what the experts are telling us, with that 5% increase, we're going to expect homes are going to go up in value. Now, this survey from Q3 of 2021 is from a company called the Home Price Expectation Survey. They're a little bit more, have more positive thought process than 5%, but still, based upon their thoughts on the potential growth in household wealth over the next 5 years, based solely on increased home equity. Say you purchase a $350,000 home in January of 2021. By January of 2022, it would be worth $391,000. January of 2023, $413,000. January of 2024, $430,000. 25, $445, and in 26, $461,000. So that is $111,000 worth of equity that you can expect just solely based upon the projected rate of increase of home value. So if you wait to buy, you're losing out on all that equity. So when people say, well, I don't want to buy at the top of the market, we can always say, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know for sure what the top of the market is, but knowing what the trends that have happened within our market, we are going to continue to rise in home prices. It's just going to happen with all the demand we have, the lack of supply, and the fact that we still have people moving here. That is, I think, a really effective chart that you can show people if they're thinking about buying. So when to buy. Here's something else to think about as we move into the wintertime. It's traditionally also a time in which we work on our business plan for next year. And what are we doing to make sure that we are working as effectively as we can in our business and getting our goals met? This is a quote from Sir James Tyson. Now, if you've never heard of Sir James Tyson, he was Australia's first self-made millionaire. He was the son of a convict, and when he came to, when in his early life, he worked, very menial jobs. He just worked really, really hard and became a self-made millionaire in Australia. And his quote here is, "The moment you feel most tired is the moment you must accelerate, because that's when everyone else is feeling tired as well." If you can break through that pain barrier, you can achieve great things. That's one of the things that my husband used to always say when he was coaching soccer. He'd always tell the kids he was working with, it's like, if you got to break through those brick walls that you set up and say, "Oh, I can't do that, I can't do that." Well, you got to break through them, because you will find that you can achieve amazing things. Because why not you? Why can't you do that? You work hard, you train hard. If you're putting the time and effort in, why not? Why not you? And so that is kind of the thought process here on what's happening nationally. Now let's go look at our individual market. Before I get started on that, any questions from anybody on this? Anyone thoughts on this? Okay, if not, let's go to our local market. So here's where we are. November of 2021 versus November of 2020. So traditionally a little bit slower time. We have a few less listings that we got in 2021 than we did in 2020, but look at the volume. In 2020, it was about 6 million worth of listings. In 2021, even though there were 25% fewer listings, the volume was 6.5 million. So we know values have gone up. All that has impacted how much homes sell for. Pending, we're down slightly, but almost again the same volume. So we're pending on our pending deals. We have roughly the same amount that's in contract right now. On our closings, we're down about 19%, but volume-wise up about $2 million versus the year before. So we're closing slightly less, but for more money. And then our year-to-date figures, which I think are really interesting. For 2020, we sold 489 by the end of November for 262 million. And here in 2021, we've sold 494, up just a little bit more, but for 317 million. So what we are selling is worth more. So I think that's pretty great, because that means every commission check that we get in is a little bit more money. So that means people should be making a little bit more money. Values have increased. Here is the chart I always show you from Bin Residential from MLS. Again, Bin Residential, this is not limited to just single family homes under an acre. It's just residential, so that includes condos and townhomes and acreage property. This also does include Sun River. But I like these charts because it shows what's happening to our active listings. As we know, August was a peak of active listings, and they've dropped down quite a bit. Sold listings are maintaining a fairly strong number, but new listings have dropped a lot. And that tells you, again, as we have seasonal slowdown here. Listing prices, active listing prices have continued to creep up. The new median list price is holding fairly steady, and the sold median sales price has gone up. In fact, I'm going to talk about that figure just a little bit. the absorption rate. How many months of supply do we have? We had gone up to about 1.6 months and we're down to 1.2 months. Sold to list ratio during the peak of the multiple offer situations, homes were selling at 104% of ask price. They're now dropped down to 98%. So that tells you that that homes are on the market. A lot of sellers are willing to start negotiating. In fact, if the homes have been sitting on the market for a period of time, sellers will entertain offers. We're seeing more movement with people, and that's a good thing from both sides. When I first started seeing this fall counter offers again, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so great to start seeing a counter offer and some negotiations back and forth, and having buyers not saying that they are believing they have to give away the store and waive appraisals and waive home inspections and all that in order to get the home. It's a great thing. Days on market creeping up a little bit, up again a little bit since October. And then price volume, our peak for active list volume has dropped down. Sold volume is staying slightly, it's down a little bit, but not a ton. And new list volume has dropped a lot. So again, inventory that we have is still selling. And that tells you that the sold volume is kind of maintaining itself. It's been maintaining itself fairly well since March. So May. So we're in a very solid time for people who are willing to list. We've got people who are willing to buy, and solds are maintaining. So here is the chart I always really look at carefully when I do bid single family residential. November of 2021 versus November of 2020. So where are we with active listings? So we have dropped considerably from 2020 on active listings. We're down 55%. New listings were up slightly at 11%. New pendings up 62%. Solds down 3.8%. But sold volume, look at what the value is of things that have sold. 163 million versus 134 million, up 21%. Average sales price is now at $808,000, up 26%. But this is the big one here, the median sales price. This is the one I really am looking at. This is a new record. Median sales price of $683,000 for a house. That's again up 26.9% from 2020. We're seeing first-time home buyers buying $600,000 homes. I'm just kind of floored by that figure. Percentage of value to list price. Again, this has been single-family residential. It's not acreage property. It's not Sun River. It's not condos. It's not townhomes. Things are selling for list price basically at 100%, down slightly from 2020. And months of supply, we are just under a month's worth of supply. So again, a strong seller's market, which is another good reason that people shouldn't be waiting to list. If you've got clients who want to list now, we've got buyers right now. And then where we are on the charts. And I always find this is interesting too, to see we have been sitting here firmly in 5th position for quite some time. And we are, as an office, again, because way MLS works here, they calculate and double when we're on both sides of a transaction. We have sold year to date $340 million. And that is really a phenomenal figure when you consider that we are an office of 50 people. And I say lots of hard work from all of you, and it's very, very encouraging. This doesn't include everything, by the way, guys. This is just stuff that's in MLS. We have sold things outside of the area. We have sold things in the Portland market. We have sold stuff on the coast. We have sold stuff in the Willamette Valley, and they are not part of this report. So this is less actually as far as what the total volume of sales that we've had. So with this here, any questions on any of this? Comments, questions, thoughts about where we are and what you're seeing in the market? Do any of you have clients who are thinking of listing anytime soon? If so, feel free to unmute your mic or write something in the chat. Yeah, Jane?
Yes, I've got 2 or 3 people that are looking to list. They're just being very hesitant right now due to various extenuating circumstances. But, it looks like it's definitely picking up, and there's a lot of activity coming up for me, at least in the new year.
That's great. That's great. Tina, did you have something?
Yeah, sorry, I've got my printer printing in the background, so if you can hear that. Yeah, no, I see buyers being really hesitant in making offers. I see a uptick in maybe sellers wanting to list. I've got a couple listings coming up, but I've got buyers that are just very picky on what they're willing to pay for a price. So even though there's buyers out there and low inventory, they're being picky, and I'm seeing, with on the sell side more price reductions and feedback being more critical than we'd seen in the past. It's more of a normal market, I guess I would say. And then I also wanted to ask you on some of these reports that the Central Oregon report, since you've already got them prepared, would you mind sharing those when you send those other slides?
Oh, no problem. Happy to do that. So Tina, are you saying that you're seeing buyers more picky? Are they like at a point where I don't see the perfect house? If I don't find the perfect house, I don't want to buy it, or are they?
Yeah, they're just, they're anything. It's like, nah, they just don't see the value in it. And so unless it was, 50,000 less, or if there's still repairs or things that need to be done, they're just not willing to pay that top dollar like they were back in the spring.
Yeah, I see that. There was such a desperation. People were, the multiple offers on so many different things was very challenging, and people kind of almost got caught up in the frenzy of I got to get a house. So people are thinking maybe from your experience things are overpriced, or they're if it's not a perfect house, but they don't want it.
Yep, that's what I'm kind of seeing on I've got probably 3 buyers that I've showed property to, and they just aren't ready to pull the trigger yet.
Okay.
And, yeah.
So it's not necessarily interest rates or anything like that. It's just more like I got to find a house that fits me better or doesn't need all these repairs.
Yeah, they're just thinking they're overpriced. So
okay.
Yeah, even with the low inventory, they're just willing to wait, and I think they're waiting to find out, like all the information that you've given us sounds like, it's not going to change. We're going to continue to grow, and prices are going to continue to go up. But I think they're wanting to wait and see. They're not sure what the economy is going to do, and the high inflation right now. So
yeah, that's a concern. I know if we get a house that seems to be very well priced for the market, for instance, Otis's listing on Sacagawea in Northwest Crossing had multiple offers. It sold like in a day. So depending upon what it was, and that house was not all tricked out with the most modern finishes. It was a little bit of older home, but he priced it accordingly. And it seemed like people just jumped all over it because it was, first of all, Northwest Crossing. I mean, when did 1,700 square foot home sell for? It was listed at $950,000, but multiple offers.
We saw that one. Yeah, my clients didn't write on that. They liked it, but they decided they wanted a different location, closer to downtown. So it was a great house, though.
Great. Thanks, Tina. Anyone else with comments about this? Okay, if not, we're going to do haves and wants after we listen to Danielle. And Danielle approached me a couple days ago with a great idea about giving back. And Danielle, if you'd like to share with the office, what are your thoughts?
Hi, everybody. Do you mind if I share screen?
Please do.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not the greatest speaker, but I've got this idea that I've been playing around with for, let me see how I can share screen.
How do I get you to share the screen?
Sorry, technical difficulties. Let's see. Basically, my idea is, you know, I've come into some business. It's been going well, and my heart has been big for giving back to our community. There are. Let me pull up this in the meantime. So I've come up with an idea how to give back. I've been playing around with starting a couple of charities, maybe putting together a broker fund. So I've come up with Bend Broker Fund, strongly funding and problem solving to grow. So what is community? A group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. And we as broker, we are in the business of community. Why is it important to give back? Strengthening the community. That makes it possible for us to succeed in the first place. We are paid by the community that we are building. We are help building by bringing and exposing these out-of-towners to what has been a really great community. But there's a little bit of a dichotomy here. We're making money selling luxury while our historic community is being driven out. Every one of us is probably 2 catastrophes away from being cold and hungry ourselves. We all experience difficulty from time to time. My vision is independent contractors working together to make a difference in the community we help build, and also that gives us our business by building up organizations that pour into our neighborhoods with help, resources, and dignity. Brokers in the community, we are in the business of community. Let's take care of it. Let's help build it responsibly. Building up organizations that pour help, support, food, medical needs, mental health resources, supplies, and dignity helps us not only foster warmth and connection, but also tears apart division, oppositions, negativity, and violence, and most importantly, grows heart. And this is what I think is called living in the business of community. So making a major contribution to our communities can be simple. If I were to look at my ease of contribution, if I do 10 deals per year, typically these closings are in the thousands. If I were to take just $200 per every closing, that would give me $2,000 per year to give back to my community. Now with the brokerage of 60 brokers, if we all work together, that's $120,000 per year to make a real impact to real people, to our people. Then what do? We give important resources to our people. There's community charities like Partners in Care, Shepherd's House, Smart Reader, Bethlehem Inn, The Giving Plate, Family Kitchen, CASA, First Story, Neighbor Impact, all sorts of wonderful caring charities that make a real difference. But we can also decide together where to send the funds. And we can also start our own charities that give to need that is specific to our own experiences. That's where the heart is. Vote on charities that we will donate to, have an ongoing fund for unexpected catastrophes within our community. And we decide together and have a close hand in giving with our hearts. So that's what I have. Thank you.
That's great, Danielle. You were sharing with me that you're looking at how to put together, is it the 501c?
501c3, so it's tax deductible, yes. I'm working with it now, yeah.
And you're thinking of like a board of directors?
Yep, I would need a board of directors, so a chair, a co-chair, vice president, secretary, and financials. I'll lead all of those positions.
And then to maybe as a board come up with how to set up the the funds coming in, having a separate account, and then how to divvy up the funds during the course of the year.
Collectively, and also if we want to build our own charities, our own, then we can, not only round table and build it together, but also have branches that we all manage.
Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the things you talked with me about a couple days ago was your thoughts about people who are undergoing divorce. That sometimes when you've had a shared home and then all of a sudden you're divorced, you sell your home, but what do? Or one person's out of the home, there's sometimes some real immediate needs. This is beyond those charities that are set up to help people who are dealing in an abusive situation. We're just talking about people who have agreed to divorce, and then all of a sudden, what do we do?
Yeah, I thought about maybe putting together a care box, you know, here's some towels, maybe the ex got all the towels, here's some spoons, here's some stuff. And when you give like that with heart and thought, it can really lift somebody else up. And what are they going to do? They're going to, you know, take a stronger step forward and maybe think about who they can help out down the road. So it's kind of win-win. I've also got ideas about cancer support, wildfire relief, dream fund, you know, donate a dream for a kid or a struggling citizen. Maybe that looks like a prom dress, you know. There's lots of areas. Taco Tuesday, where we can combine with really great taco stands and hand deliver hot tacos to somebody who's cold out there in the snow. You know, those are good things.
Those are all good things. Does anybody have thoughts about that, or what is your initial thought about? Yeah, Cinda?
Linnea, I'm in. Count me in, Danielle. I'd like to be of help. I did some business banking, and I've got a little bit of experience with those 503s. I gotta go back. It's been a while, but I can help probably.
I would love that. I would love that, Cinda. Thank you.
Wonderful. Any other thoughts from people here? Because I'm all excited about this. I think this is something, you know, giving back, and even like you say, Danielle, having our own charity in which we determine based upon this need here, can we provide something to help in this given time, or even some regular charities we donate to.
And that really helps bring heart to the table, because these are things that we have personal experience in. You know, if you want to take a step back and donate in a large way to Partners in Care, that's wonderful. But if there's something that's really, you know, that you'd like a closer hand at being helpful in, and seeing how it works and seeing the cogs and make it happen, that can be really strong and really fulfilling.
A friend of mine who has a brokerage in Eugene partnered with a local charity that works with teenagers who have been kicked out of their homes, and they're basically homeless. And I know we have needs for things like that. What she's been able to do within this same sort of idea within her brokerage is they were able to purchase a building and rehab it to be transitional care for these children. And so it's the charity is being run by this third-party organization who is geared around that, but they're providing the actual physical housing. And it's making a difference. I mean, she told me that they already have their first, I think, 8 tenants, you know, coming in, you know, and these are kids who have no other place to go. And I've seen them around our town too. It's heartbreaking too, as you say.
Very heartbreaking, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's yeah. So that's all I have. Thank you so much for your time and listening, and enjoy this snowy day. Beautiful. Thank you, Linnea.
Thank you, Danielle. For anybody else, haves or wants, or any other comments on things? Haves or wants, anybody?
I have some wants.
Thanks, Tina.
Okay, so first of all, I've got a client looking up to 900,000 downtown area or walkable to downtown or Old Mill. Single family residence, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. A fixer's okay. I've got another buyer looking for 500,000 investment, Bend, Redmond, Sisters, single family residence, townhome, condo, something that they could rent in a short-term rental. Got another buyer that's a cash buyer, 955 short-term rental. If anybody's got anything coming up that could be a short-term rental, let me know. Single family residence. Then I've got another couple that have moved away from Bend, but they'd like to find either maybe a manufacturer or something small, maybe in Sun River or Bend, just $300,000 that they could come back to a couple times a year, you know, 3 or 4 times a year just to visit Bend or visit the area. And then I personally have an Eagle Crest timeshare that I have 1 week available from 12/25 to January 1st. If anybody has any clients that need a rental for that week, it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. sleep 6. And so I was going to rent that for $7, put it on Craigslist to rent it for $700 for the week, or flexible on that. I'm also interested in selling that if anybody has interest. It's a deeded timeshare and we just don't use it that much anymore. We used to go to Mexico or Hawaii, traded it through RCI. So if anybody's interested in that, I would sell it for just the transfer fee. There is annual maintenance. I think it's about $600 a year, and it's 1 week a year, floating week. And then I've got a new listing coming. If I can find my paperwork on that. It is at 2510 Longfellow, Northeast Longfellow. It is 3 bedroom, 2.5 baths. It could be a 4th bedroom, or it can be an office on the main floor. 2,120 square feet on 0.16 of an acre. It's a nice cul-de-sac location. I've got it under contract right now, or listed right now, not in MLS. It's coming, or it will be coming soon, probably next week, for $799. Photos are going to be taken on Friday, and so sometime next week it'll probably go active. So if anybody wants to get in there before, I'm happy. I've got a lockbox on it and happy to let you guys go in early. And that's it.
Oh, that's great. They got a lot of activity there. Tina, for your Eagle Crest, you may want to reach out to Jackie because she lives in Eagle Crest and she may have some connections there for people who might be interested in that.
Yeah. I mean, we used it all the time when my kids were young and we'd travel and, you know, go, but we just haven't used it. Well, obviously with COVID, we haven't used it, but we've rented it the last probably 4 years. So, I mean, usually I put on Craigslist and it rents for the holiday or whatever. And it's great when people are coming to town. So just thought if anybody had somebody, client or something, needing something, I've got it available. So
That's great.
anyways, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else with anything? Any other haves or wants? Okay, if not, I think that's it for today. And I hope everyone stays safe. Hopefully we can enjoy the snow and not say, oh, it's snow. And have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.